Losing It, written and read by Helen Lederer. Chapter 1. Affirmation 1. I radiate generosity unless it is my round. Monday, the 3rd of March. Millie Tucker allowed herself a brisk check for glitches as she paused in front of the small hall mirror. Escaped nasal hair would, after all, be an avoidable own goal. The eyebrows could do with a tint, which was depressing. She smiled. This was a new habit, and would need practice. She experimented with what might be considered a warm expression and enunciated carefully from the Pocket Book of Life Affirmations, an inspirational handbook for busy people. I love myself and behave in a loving way to all people, including people I am not that close to or don't even like that much. The book encouraged the busy reader to adapt the suggested affirmation according to their own needs. Millie had many of these. Florence was Millie's second best friend. No one had first best friends after 50, reflected Millie. They were either dead or too successful. She allowed her black jacket to flap open, to give an illusion of tailoring without the strain. How women had the audacity to wear belts over jumpers was beyond her. Also, Florence wasn't married, which helped significantly. There had to be at least some parity if one was to invest in a night out of single-sex drinking. After all, what would one talk about otherwise? By the time Millie got there, Florence was already in position on the plastic sofa in the window at the bolt hole. She smiled at Millie and raised her hand in greeting, leaving it there while she continued speaking into her phone. A selection of silver bangles tinkled down her freckled arm. Millie walked past her and towards the bar, irritated. Florence continued her conversation, keeping the arm skywards in a salute as Millie swiped the cocktail menu off the counter. She sat on the cushioned bar stool and unconsciously began caressing the furry fabric of her jumper dress over her thighs, but stopped when she felt the girl behind the bar staring. No need to advertise she lived alone. She was aware the menu had 2 cocktails that began with an M, but as her readers were on the floor of her Ford Escort, she had to commit to one of them. She knew she liked one and not the other. She tapped her acrylics on the shiny grey bar top. If she got it wrong and ordered the short one that came in the triangular glass, which took ages to assemble but hardly contained any liquid, it would inevitably colour the evening. But she needed a drink, and she wanted a cocktail. Millie ordered herself a margarita, thinking it was a mojito. Florence was clearly oblivious to these concerns. She looked up from her plastic banquette in the window and called over to the bar. This seating unit was meant to be a winning feature of the bolt hole and had glass poppers embedded in the back to signal that it wasn't afraid of being camp. "Just had kittens!" Florence pointed at the phone. Millie vaguely remembered Florence did something with cats every year, but had never been the kind of friend who felt obliged to take an undue interest. The whole point of Florence being second best friend was that she was available, so Millie would have to overlook the weird cat obsession, or it might become a problem. "Don't worry too much about the salt." Millie forced a light little laugh as the barmaid began to rotate a glass in a grimy saucer of speckled salt. She noticed a student ring binder open next to the list of margarita ingredients. Screen and Musicology Year 3. Surely the bar staff weren't allowed to do homework on the job. Worse, Millie now knew she had ordered herself the wrong drink. She was getting the short, annoying one. Millie caught sight of her troubled round face in the bar mirror and pouted to give her lips a chance of featuring. Her jacket was straining over her too-tight jumper dress, making her top look decidedly bulky. She looked like a Russian doll in a chunky knit. "Is that it, then?" Millie inquired, looking at the only drink placed on the shiny counter. It was not the one she wanted. The girl looked confused. "Yeah? Oh, do you want a straw with that?" she asked. "Will that take long, do you think?" asked Millie. "No, don't think so. They're just here." The girl pointed at a straw holder next to Millie's glass. She didn't seem overly concerned, but then she was probably too young and thin to be able to relate to Millie's trauma at seeing her reflection. "I could bring it over to you if you'd like." The girl planted a straw in the glass and looked pleased. "I'll take it with me, thanks," Millie said firmly. She'd finally received an alcoholic drink, with a straw.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?